swing and a drive. Right field and deep. Back goes Aquino. It's got a chance. Gone. Get out the tape measure. Long gone.
Fly the W!
Cubs fans, it's time to fly the W with Dustin Rhodes and Paul Crawley-Jean.
This is the Fly the W podcast, season 4. It's episode 59. We are part of the Blue Wire Network. Don't forget, you can listen, download, subscribe. Most importantly, review the podcast. You can follow us on all our socials. I'm at Mully and Haw on X.
And you can follow me at Crawley's Cubs on X, Blue Sky, TikTok, and Crawley's Clubhouse on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Threads. You can email us at crawleysclubhouse@gmail.com.
All right, Crawley, what can you say about last night at Wrigley? You were there.
I was there, man, and it was I was thinking about this the other day. I went to 3 games last week on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I went on Saturday in Milwaukee, and then Wednesday, Thursday this week. So I mean, it just feels like a blur. It was, you know, when you kind of talk about everything, just the atmosphere and everything around the stadium was absolutely incredible. But it was almost like 2 different atmospheres, I guess would be the best way to put it. And so when I go down to Wrigley, I'm down there, and game 1 is always like exciting, the very first one. So I took my son down with me. We saw John Vincent at Rizzo's, kind of hung out, talked with him. He did the anthem, and what can you say other than when that guy does it, he just brings the house down.
Yeah, he's fantastic at it. Awfully good.
There's just an energy that kind of comes around that. I did say my prayers with the Pope, who told Cub fans to keep the faith. There's all sorts of dressed up people. There were popes, there were aliens. It was weird. Now, Dustin, I know I'm getting a little bit older. You know, our demographics are changing. But they did this thing, and I didn't know it was a big deal. DJ John Summit. Have you heard this?
No, I know what you're talking about, but I didn't know anything about it either.
So there's this guy, DJ Johnson. I have no idea who this is. And I start telling kind of even some of my younger coworkers, yeah, there's some DJ guy, DJ John Summit. And, you know, and they're like, they were like freaking out. And I'm like, what, who is this guy? I have no freaking idea who this is. Got like some bajillion followers or whatever. And literally this is the picture I took from Gallagher Way. And the hard thing to kind of see is that you could only get in this area right here if you had a ticket to the game. But all these other people came because they wanted to see him. So the street on Clark was blocked off, and everybody was on Clark just trying to get a view, or like from the barriers. So like the day of game, if you don't have a ticket, you can't go into Gallagher Way. Right. A couple hours before game time. So all these people are just milling around. You couldn't get by Brick House or the Cubs store or anything. It was so full of people to kind of see this DJ. So it was wild. I had no idea it was going to be that big of a thing. So that was kind of cool to see. And then, you know, when you get to that very first game, that's where it gets wild, where you start to get like, you know, the players line up. And so they do all the, you know, they announce the lineups, and then they get people to come out and hold the flag. So Vincent's singing, the players are there, the flag's blowing. There's Johnny right there. They got fireworks going out, and you're just kind of ready to go. And who else other than Big Z to throw the first pitch? Carlos Zambrano, who threw a no-hitter in Milwaukee, not against the Brewers, but in their stadium. So it was awesome to see Big Z out there, and just a lot of fun. John Mulaney was back there and all that fun stuff. And so we definitely just the vibe was great. There was a lot of excitement. But I'm going to tell you, Dustin, about the crowd that first night on Wednesday is that there's a nervous energy, okay? You're down 2-0. You're in the hole. You lose, your season's over, right? And the way that the Cubs lost in Milwaukee was just a beating. It was a beatdown. It was almost like the Cubs didn't belong in the same stadium as the Brewers. The Brewers looked that much better in Milwaukee, right? And so there was like a good positive energy, but a nervous energy. Like, don't know what's going to happen. And you know, the way that the game kind of played out, didn't help the situation either. More first inning fireworks, right? You got Jamison Tyone and Quinn Priester on the mound, and right away again, the Brewers score 1 run on a Sal Frelick bases loaded sac fly. Jamison Tyone's able to limit the damage, but Dustin, we kind of talked about it on the last episode. Hey, do we move Michael Busch to third, flip him with Kyle Tucker? But all of a sudden, boom, he ties it back up in the bottom of the first with another leadoff home run. Cubs also load the bases. They have 2 outs. PCA has a clutch 2-out single to put the Cubs 3-1. Priester is out of the game, Dustin, in the first. Cubs score 1 more on a wild pitch by Nick Mears to extend the lead to 4-1. The Cubs do not score again after the first, and JMO and the bullpen are able to hold on to a 4-3 win. For the Cubs, they scored 4 runs on 8 hits, struck out only 7 times, but were 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position, left 7 men on base. The Brewers, they scored 3 runs on 7 hits, struck out 9 times, were 2 for 9 with runners in scoring position, left 7 men on base. But, there's a couple things, Dustin, that stick out in this game. And the first thing is you had a veteran pitcher in Jamison Tyone versus an inexperienced pitcher in Quinn Priester, the local kid made good, man. And when you heard about the teammates talking about JMO after the game and what that meant to him, I thought that was huge. Here's what JMO had to say first.
Yeah, I kind of enjoy it, honestly. Like, I'd rather not be in this situation, but I feel like my whole career I've just responded well to situations where I feel like the team needs me, whether it be, in June and we're playing 15 games in a row and I feel like the bullpen needs help, or put a stop to a skid or whatever. Like, I've always enjoyed that. So, yeah, I just take pride in showing up and doing my job and being prepared and keeping us in games. So I was excited for the opportunity.
And that's 100% what he did, right? He just came in and he was the calm in the storm. He is what some of his teammates described him as. You look at the first inning and it looks like it's going to go off the rails early, right? Like you just sit there and you're just going like I said, nervous energy coming in there. Tyone's on the mound, and all of a sudden the Brewers are doing what they do once again, which is being pesky and getting base runners on, right? Lead off double. Christian Yelich. Oh, great. Here we go. Right. Bryce Terang walks. William Contreras singles. So now you got the bases loaded with 1 out, but then this bizarre play, Dustin, that just kind of takes place. That just was, I don't know what it was like at home, but here's the thing. We've talked about this before. When you play these weird 4:00 starts,
oh boy,
you get sun, you get shadows, you get all sorts of things. And so we're going to talk more about it later, but there's this ball that gets lost in the sun and it ends up, you're just thinking to yourself, oh God, this is just going to fall apart in the worst way. But what does he do? The opposite. Remember in game 1 when Nico Horner made that error and then the Brewers end up scoring 6 innings?
Correct.
This
6 runs
time,
in that inning, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This time JMO's able to pick up his teammates and get out of it with just 1 run. Right. And so to me, that's key. He only allowed single runs in the first and the fourth. So there's a couple times, and I like the way that Craig Counsell kind of talked about what he did after the game.
I thought JMO, really escaped 2 innings, essentially, the first and the fourth, and he had to make big pitches in both innings. That's why you want JMO out there. It's said before, it's the calm in the storm, and nothing fazed him, and he made a couple really, both times, made some good pitches in the first to just limit the damage. Well, in the first and the fourth to limit the damage. And that's what, being a good pitcher is about. Like, a run scores and you don't get flustered. You don't change anything. You just keep making pitches. And for JMO to just put up single runs in those innings was really important.
Yeah, that first had that weird infield fly rule that wasn't called, and it wasn't called for the right reason. But
that was the right. The umps did a good job on that one. That was a good call.
Dustin.
I'm not quite sure why. Not quite sure why Dansby Swanson thought he needed to be within 6 inches of Nico Horner instead of covering second base, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, and so you look there, and you get to the top of the fourth, and with 1 out, they hit 3 singles, and once again, now it's you're sitting there going, oh boy, here they go again. But he's able to get out of it. He limits the damage. Now that is the exact opposite of what happens to Quinn Priester, pride of Cary, Illinois. And I don't, did you see the picture of, his family? His grandpa has a brick at Wrigley Field.
Yeah, pretty cool.
And so I'm sitting there going like, this kid's here and it's his first start. It's his first start. And it's just a different beast in the postseason. Here's Murph. Here's Murph on Priester right here.
Yeah, I think I think the moment got to him a little bit. I think this is, again, he's not technically a rookie, but it's his first postseason appearance and had a long layoff. It's at his hometown. I feel for him because that's not typically how he's done this year, and it gave them a jump start and was the difference in the game.
Now, when you talk about that, Dustin, I mean, Priester was a stud for them all year long.
They won like 19 of 20 starts that he made, right?
Yeah. It was just unbelievable. He was just winning decision after decision after decision. And then he came there, and what you saw is the tightness where you overthrow. Do you get what I'm saying? And his pitches just were missing the spots all the time. And I'm just going, all right. And I just thought that JMO was the guy that we needed at that point in time. It was such a huge benefit to have him out there. And he did exactly what the Cubs needed him to do. And that was to give him a shot to get back in this series. And they did. Dustin, one other thing you got to take a look at when you look at this game one is was the first inning offense versus offense for the rest of the inning. The Cubs were able to break that record. Remember we talked about it on the last episode about the record for how long it had been since the Cubs scored more than 3 runs in a ball game. This was on 13 straight postseason games, going all the way back to 2017, the NLDS, and they couldn't score more than 3 runs. Well, that all changed in the first inning, right? That Michael Busch leadoff home run was just absolutely unbelievable. When you kind of see what they did. And then when the rest of the inning is going on, it's just, you're sitting there saying to yourself, all right, after you're down 1-0, how are the Cubs going to come back? Busch homers, Nico singles, Kyle Tucker walks. You're getting base runners, right? Seiya Suzuki hit a really unbelievable ball off the bat.
Yeah, he was robbed. He was absolutely robbed.
Sal Frelick makes that sliding catch. I don't even know how he made that. It was like it started in the sun and went into the shade. But Ian Happ walks. You load the bases for Carson Kelly, and all you got to do there, man, is just make contact, get a run in, and he strikes out. And I'm going, oh no. And now PCA's up, and it just felt like you were going to blow it and leave those runners in scoring position. But he singled, and he drove in 2 runs, 3-1. That's it for Priester. Nick Mears comes in. He throws a wild pitch. And so that's a free run, Dustin, and that's going to be huge when it comes to the end of this game, right?
Yeah, huge run. Yep.
Right. And so you get 4 runs, great. But Dustin, the Cubs in the postseason has scored 8 runs in the first inning and only 2 runs after the first inning during once we were at game 3. So their average was 150 after the first inning. So the Cubs also have 3 wins this postseason, not including yesterday. They only had 3 hits with runners in scoring position, 3 for 26. 2 of those, PCA. Right. The one in the wild card, he had a big hit in the wild card in the clincher, and this one, and then game 3. And so it's one of those things that we are lucky going to not have to deal with it in game 4. But, Craig Counsell he made kind of a joke about this, about the first inning.
I'm gonna tell our guys it's the first inning every inning tomorrow. I think that's our best formula right now offensively. First, we just did a great job in the first inning. We had really good at bats. I thought, the Michael homer, yes, great. Nico getting on base right away again. Like, it's not going to be a 1-run inning. You're going to have a tough inning again. And I thought, we did that really, really well. And it makes a difference. Every run is so hard to come by. And so we put together that really beautiful inning, and you have to play like that.
Now, okay, that's great. You got the 4 runs, and all I kept saying was add on, get a couple more runs. Don't make it close, because the Brewers are like death by 1,000 cuts, right? They're not a team that's crushing home runs and this and that. They just sit there and they run. They take first to third. They steal bases. They always hit that little duck snort every time in between the infielders and outfielders. And so I just wanted them to keep adding. And in comes, the corpse of Jose Quintana. Like this guy's back. And honestly, Dustin, he was able to shut down the Cubs offense. The Cubs did nothing after the first inning between him and Grant Anderson. That was it. All of a sudden, there was no offense for the whole rest of the game for the Cubs, is what it felt like.
No, zero. Absolutely nothing.
And so you're sitting there and you're going, hey, you got to do something here. And, Craig talked about the at-bats then in the 2nd through 9th inning.
We didn't produce a lot of opportunities. I thought the third against Quintana was maybe the first and second, nobody out. We had a couple pitches we had some pitches to hit that inning. I know Carson was mad at himself. I thought he had a pitch to hit. Dansby got to 3-1. Quintana threw a pretty good pitch away, but it got into knew a fastball was coming count. So that was really the inning where I thought we had a shot to add on. That was our biggest opportunity, and we just, I think Carson would tell you he missed a pitch. He had a good pitch to hit, 2-1, I think, and popped it up to right.
So nothing 2 through 9, and the only thing else that one thing I want to add about this game is that the defense continues to be an issue. In game 1, there's Nico error. Game 2, Dansby made an error, right? In game 3, there was all sorts of weird stuff going on the defensive side. Now, we talked about the first inning. J-Mo comes out there, gives up the double. Okay, no big deal. And then Jackson Churio grounds out, and then Bryce Trang walks. You got guys at first and second, and then Wilson Contreras hits a pop-up. And all of a sudden, you could tell right away because of the sun and the shadows and all the craziness, Bush cannot find it. And so
no clue where it was at.
No clue at all. And the ball lands, and now all of a sudden Yelich gets to third, Terrain gets to second. You got, instead of having guys at first and second and 2 outs, you have bases loaded, 1 out. Mm-hmm. And we at the game had no clue what the hell was going on. And later on, Craig's going to explain it, and it makes sense. But at the time,
he had no idea where the ball was. And then, the wind put the ball in a place that was like just no man's land for everybody. Nico and Dansby went after it, but the umps got it right. It was you have to have a player under like that's going to catch it to call infield fly, and we never had a player really close to catching it. So, right call. I was hoping they made the wrong call. They did not.
So this was afterwards. They asked the umpire over there, and they say what they look for is ordinary effort. Don't make a determination. So when the infield fly rule comes, they lift up their hand, right? And that signals infield fly. But the fact that nobody was underneath the ball, they didn't do it. And I think you make up a really good point, is that you have Nico's there, Carson Kelly's there, you have the pitchers relatively there. You have Michael Bush is still looking around for this ball, but Dansby has to know somebody has to cover second. If Dansby's covering second, they get a second out there because the runner was right next to first base. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yep. Makes sense. Yep.
That was just a huge defensive error, and nobody addressed it because the Cubs won.
Right. Well, lots of things. That's so. It's always interesting. Listen, at the end of the day, Crowley, all we want is our favorite team to win. The only thing is that there are questions during a win that you wonder what happened in that situation, what was going on there, and you just never get the answers to those types of things, and you don't even get them like on the pregame of like the next game because everybody just wants to move forward and put everything in the rearview mirror.
Right. And you just want to make sure it doesn't happen again. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You want to make sure it doesn't happen. 4th inning, he talked about it. You had 3 singles in a row. It's 4-2. And then Murphy calls for a bunt from Brandon Lockridge. And the rundown was just awful, Dustin. It was so awful, that rundown. If I take a look at it, it's first baseman to catcher Carson Kelly, to third baseman Matt Shaw, to first baseman Michael Bush. I mean, they're sitting there, and it looked like Naked Gun when they were doing that, when they had the rundown, when Leslie Nielsen was trying to delay the The seventh
Good
inning
analogy. Yep, good analogy. Yep,
And
absolutely right.
You
Good
allowed
analogy.
all the other runners to get to second and third, and the guy almost scored coming home. It was a close play.
Close play.
So, needless to say, the Cubs got out of it. But, you just and then in the 8th inning, we'll talk about it. PCA just missed a ball, and that was a hard play. I'm not gonna
It's a hard play, but this is another one. This is the second thing, Crawley, that doesn't get addressed. And I want your opinion on it. And there's no wrong opinions. That's why we're here. But first of all, he's got to know the situation. He can't leave his feet. He cannot leave his feet. If he was not being backed up, that might have been a Little League home run. The runner definitely would have been a third and might have scored on a Little League home run. Can't leave your feet. Now, to his credit, he's probably one of maybe 3 guys, maybe 2 guys in the entire league that even gets his mitt on the ball, right? But it's just, he just doesn't have to have the spectacular at that point. You're not saving the game. If anything, you're putting the game in peril by doing what you did. And again, something that never was addressed publicly, because why? Because they won the game. We got to fly the W. That's all that matters. But we had a very spirited debate about this on the Mully and Haw show. So
I did hear I listened to a lot of post game, Dustin. I listened to a lot of post game, and he did address it. And he said, I know that Ian Happ has to play backed up. He's like, I know my teammate.
PCA addressed it. Right. Yeah. I'm saying nobody brings it up to counsel. Nobody says it's a teachable moment, that kind of thing. I'm saying he shouldn't leave his feet, even if he knows PCA, even if he knows Ian Happ's got his back. I just don't see the advantage of leaving your feet in that situation.
It was hard because you saw it, the ball hit off the bottom of it, like the top,
right.
like right at the end of his glove.
Hit the glove, right. And then that's the old football, if it touches your hands, you got to make the catch. If it touches your glove, you got to make the play, right? But
the one guy making plays, though, Michael Busch, continues to dominate. He had his first inning solo home run. He became the first player to hit multiple leadoff home runs in the same series in a single postseason. Did you see that one?
I did. Pretty amazing.
And what I loved about that, and hearing what I got to tell you, Murph is an interesting guy to listen to in the post game. I think
he's a character. He's very complimentary.
I like characters, I guess. Coming from Don Zimmer and Dusty and Madden and Lou Piniella and some of these guys, I like to hear what Murph has to say about certain things. But I thought he was interesting, and I also thought Craig Counsell had a very interesting take that I noticed in all of these games so far. Here's what Counsell said on Busch.
But Michael's, look, he's you can just tell by the way they manage the game. Like he's become the guy in the lineup that everybody's thinking about, and they're doing their pitching around him. And that's a credit to the player. It really is. It's not easy to do, and he said he's put us off to a great start a whole bunch of these games.
I thought that was key because I've noticed that. Like Murphy has him underlined and circled on the lineup card, and he works his bullpen in that way, right? And so that that Busch, he's going to do everything to not let Busch face a righty. And that to me reminds me of Barry Bonds a lot.
Right, and that's what's worrisome about, the game coming up Saturday is Murph going to mess around and start a lefty or some type of an opener as a lefty to see what Craig Counsell does as a response.
Yeah, and you and I also talked about, like I said, that idea of flipping Busch to third, but I thought PCA had an interesting take on what it's like as a player to see what Busch is doing as leadoff.
He's gotten it going for us this whole second half. It's really cool to be in a dugout when people are like hot and are on tears. I just think the leadoff spot's so cool because as the game's kind of progressed, you're seeing guys like Schwarber and George Springer when he was leading off all the time and kind of doing what Bushy's doing. I just think that's so exciting, and to be able to set a tone like that, or to be able to, like I said, make that ball game 0-0, I think that's so huge. The confidence we have in sending Bushy up there any at bat it's obviously very high, but the confidence that I have when Michael Busch leads off a ball game or an inning is through the roof, and I think yeah, I think I'm just one of the lucky ones that gets to have watched his year so far.
Bushy.
Bushy. And so, it's just great to kind of see that perspective. And I'm okay with leading him in leadoff now. Dustin,
I still think we were right, Crowley.
I do too.
Look at that game. Okay. He homered, but what happened right after he homered?
You had the Nico single and you had the Tucker walk.
Right. So if you just flip that all around, you get a 3-run Michael Busch home run, right? That's how my math works. Okay. That's how my math works.
Yeah. I agree. I still think it was the right idea and an interesting idea, but we don't get paid to make those decisions. But I will compliment Craig Counsell on the bullpen, and the bullpen itself has just been looking so good. How about Drew Pomeranz? Like he has just been unbelievable.
Zeros, 5 innings of work and 0, like 5 innings of work, 5 Ks and a bunch of zeros.
Right. So
no walks, no runs, no nothing.
He worked a perfect clean fifth. Palencia, how important has he been? Worked a 6. Kittredge gave up a home run. That made it a 4-3 game. And then Dustin, the 8th inning. If you've never been to a playoff game, it's not like a normal baseball game. Game, I sit down with Dustin and I'll drink a beer. We'll talk. How's the wife? Hey, how's work? Blah, 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 blah. Playoff game, you are locked in from the first pitch to the last pitch. Every pitch counts. Every pitch matters. My legs are sore from pretty much standing for 2 straight days. Yeah. Mm-hmm. From yelling and screaming and all this stuff. We get to the 8th. Cubs have a 4-3 lead. Jackson Chourio doubles. And so Caleb Thielbar, Jackson Chourio doubles off Andrew Kittredge. Caleb Thielbar comes in, strikes out Bryce Terang, walks William Contreras, which I wasn't opposed to be honest with you. Sal Frelick, because the base is open, right?
Right, base open.
Sal Frelick grounds out. And so now you got runners at first and third. And Brad Keller comes into the game. First thing Brad Keller does to Caleb Durbin, he walks him. I'm going, you got to be kidding me. So now you got the bases loaded for Jake Bauers, and I don't know if Keller has control. Now, I have a friend that sits about 6 or 7 rows above my seat, and if you're watching on the 670 The Score YouTube, she took this picture of me. And this is what it's like. I am not fun to be with at a postseason game. I'm loud, I'm yelling, I'm excited, but I'm stressed. I don't want any bad juju. But this is me in the 8th inning.
Oh,
I am literally hunched over, praying to the baseball gods, Ernie Banks, Ron Santo, anyone that's listening. I mean, I'm sitting here just like on pins and needles, so nervous. And so he's sitting here and he has to face Bauers with the bases loaded. And the first one's a ball after he just walks a guy. And you're going, oh, please tell me you're not going to walk in a run. He throws a 4-seam fastball, a changeup, and a foul tip into the glove of Carson Kelly to end the threat. And then he comes into the 9th and just absolutely shuts it down. 1-2-3 Cubs win, still alive. What a game that was, Dustin, but that nerves the entire time.
Yeah, that was a nerve wracker. And again, just going back to what Jameson Taillon did, he was just fabulous, absolutely outstanding. He reminded me the way he approached that game was kind of Kyle, the professor. It was kind of Kyle Hendricks-esque, if you will. I really thought he was kind of dialed in like that.
At low pulse rate, just nice and easy, like he was just playing catch in the yard. Yeah.
Yep.
Now,
very, very good.
Here's what I'm going to tell you about Game 4. Right. Matt Boyd redemption start. Disastrous outing in Milwaukee on short rest. Boyd redeems himself. Great outing. Not only did he pitch well, he held the Brewers scoreless in the first inning, which haven't happened in the previous 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
But he's going up against Freddie Peralta, who normally handles the Cubs pretty well. What I'm going to tell you, Dustin, is that the crowd that came to the game last night, it was probably, I put this on Twitter this morning. I've been to over 30 Cubs postseason games at Wrigley Field.
That's pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing.
Like 31, 32. I put that in the top 3 greatest crowds I've ever seen at a game. I put number 1 being the Game 6 of the NLCS against the Dodgers. What did I put for number 2? There was another one. I got to take a look at the list. I'm literally just fried. But I could just tell you that this crowd was into it from the moment the game started. And I think that they shook Freddie Peralta a little bit, not that bad, but I'm just telling you, man, they were just chant Freddie. They're yelling.
Pretty cool chant. I like that. I like
Oh.
they were getting after it with him.
And that's what reminded me of 2016. They did the same thing to Kershaw in Game 6.
Okay.
Kershaw, and I'll never one of the moments I'll always remember in postseason baseball was Rizzo hitting that home run and Kershaw turning around and dropping to his knees. I mean, that'll always live with me. And just the way, same type of feeling that night where the fans just knew we were not going to lose. We were going to will that team to a win. And, Michael Busch doesn't get the leadoff homer, but Nico walked, Kyle Tucker drew a walk, Seiya struck out. But with 2 outs, the longest tenure Cub, who's had a miserable postseason, 3-run homer, Wrigley erupts, and the Cubs take a lead. Not only that, Dustin, they would actually add on to their lead with a Matt Shaw RBI single in the 6th, a Kyle Tucker home run in the 7th, and you can't hold them down. Michael Busch hits a solo home run in the 8th. The Brewers throw in the towel. I didn't think I'd see this happening. They let Robert Gasser stay there. They didn't dip any more into the pen, so the Cubs couldn't get any more looks at anybody. To give up those home runs in the 7th and 8th, Cubs win 6-0, force a Game 5 in Milwaukee. And Dustin, for the first time since that Game 6 in 2016, when Kyle Hendricks started against the Dodgers, the Cubs pitching recorded a shutout in the postseason. But here were the keys here to Game 2. Huge bounce back from Matt Boyd. In Milwaukee on short rest, couldn't make it out of the first. Gave up, he gave up 5 runs, 2 earned on 4 hits, 1 walk, 1 K. His pitches were flat, non-competitive, no bite. So he has a great job when he can command the secondary pitches and the curveball and the slider, and things are just moving and it confuses your timing. But none of those pitches were working for him. Like the curveball wasn't curving. The slider just wasn't getting back to the plate. Nothing was working. And with adequate rest in this game, pitched 4 and a 2/3 scoreless inning, gave up 2 hits, 3 walks, 6 Ks. He had the Brewers off balance the whole time. On the flip side, Freddie Peralta gave up 2 runs on 4 hits with 3 walks and 9 Ks in 5 2/3 innings in Milwaukee on Saturday, throwing 95 pitches. Last night, he gave up 3 runs on 3 hits, 2 walks, 6 Ks in 4 innings pitch. He had to throw 84 pitches. Just, I thought the Cubs' offensive approach was amazing. They made him work. In Milwaukee, he carved them up. It looked like carving up a turkey, the way he carved up the Cubs hitters. This, I felt like the Cubs were on him the entire time and forced him into a lot of high-pressure situations that he did not have to face in Milwaukee. I thought it was beautiful, man.
Yeah, it was. The approach was really great.
Now, the offense scored in the first, but they were able to add runs throughout the game. We talked about the Cubs' 13 postseason game streak without scoring more than 3 runs. They missed opportunities in the third add-on. And then, there was a bases loaded situation where they got the double steal and they drew a walk. And I'm saying to myself, this is where they break it open. And they couldn't. They just could not do it. And it was so frustrating. That was the only time I felt like there was a little air out of the stadium. Do you remember that 5th inning?
Right. When they had the bases loaded, Suzuki strikes out, and then Happer puts one almost to the wall in left, correct?
Yep. And you're just sitting there and you're just like, oh my God. But I was stunned because they walk Shaw, they strike out Busch, and Nico singles, and they pull Trevor Meagle, their closer. So, I mean, it was just 3 bad. That's how quick Murphy was going on that one. Just like, you're out. But that was so frustrating. But then in the 6th inning, and our buddy Josh Friedman, who's been on the podcast, had a video that he had of Justin Turner working with Matt Shaw.
This was cool.
And you could see him working through it. And Matt Shaw could not buy a hit. He just looked awful the entire postseason. Okay. He was, you're just looking at this guy and you're just like, what are you doing here? Right. He was 0 for 13 to start the postseason. He had an RBI single to put the Cubs up 4-0. He had a heck of a game. And then all of a sudden you get home runs in the 7th and Michael Busch in the 8th, and the crowd is in a frenzy. Now, Dustin, I'm going to tell you something, is that the Cubs took the Brewers' best shot. You saw what happened in Milwaukee. They got knocked down, flattened, and guess what? They bounced back. and they put their best pitcher, the guy that owns the Cubs, in game 4 to prevent it from going to Milwaukee. And the Cubs were able to get up and still do it. And the thing you worry about is not worry about, but the thing you get excited about as a Cub fan are some of these guys that have been struggling. Your Kyle Tucker, home run. How long have we been waiting for that? Right? Kyle Tucker, 2 for 3. He had a walk, a home run. You're taking a look at Matt Shaw, right? He was 2 for 3 with a walk and an RBI. You just had guys that were kind of starting to Nico, unbelievable postseason right now, 429. He's 3 for 5. So I'm looking at this, Dustin, and I'm saying this may be a chance for the Cubs here. I really, all of a sudden, I'm starting to feel the momentum shift. And Murphy talked about it after the game. And here's what he had to say kind of about the Cubs and getting, he was talking a little bit about momentum. And what do you feel about momentum? I've always heard people like kind of argue about whether
momentum is the next day's pitcher, that whole thing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on that?
I think the Cubs have all the momentum right now, and I believe the Brewers have all the pressure right now. That's what I think.
Here's what he said.
Something that you can't force. You know what I mean? Momentum in baseball happens based on what's on the field. You know what I mean? And the Cubs earned it. They had their backs against the wall, and they played great these last 2 games. They pitched great. They played great. They played great defense. They hit in the clutch. They hit homers. They're built to be great, and they played great these 2 games. So hopefully the tables will turn when we get into Game 5 at our place. But we have to find out how bad we're going to fight back. We have all season. This is not a team that has strung together a losing streak or anything like that, and they've done it in a number of different ways. So I admire our team. I have faith in our team, and I think this had to happen this way. There'll be no tougher environment to play in than they just did. This is a good prep for us, and I think we'll be ready to play. I'm certain we'll be ready to play in Game 5.
But that, again, he also had another quote that's interesting here, Dustin. That crowd was crazy. And I can just tell you, leaving the stadium, everybody was looking for tickets to try to get to Miller Park. I don't think it's going to be, they're stopping people from buying tickets that have Illinois credit card addresses on there.
Are you heading out? Are you there? Are you in?
I'm there, 100% there.
You're already in?
I'm already in. I've been in since they sold the tickets, the original sales. But I thought, the fans, again, one of the best crowds, everybody standing all the time, screaming, yelling, they rattled them. The crowd willed the Cubs to win this game. And here's what Murph had to say about the environment as well that I thought was interesting because he brings up the youth of the Brewers.
Do you think, you kind of just touched it on a little bit, being back in front of the home crowd, what you guys did in those first 2 games gives you a bit of an advantage going into a Game 5 like that? Or
well, it definitely is preferred. If you're asking me where I prefer to play, I'd rather say at home, especially how good this environment was the last 2 days. It affected the game. This crowd affected the game the last 2 games. Affected the way we played for sure. We've got a really young team. I think everybody knows that. Maybe by far the youngest team in the postseason. And, it's like that kind of stuff emotionally can affect guys. They can start to play a little too hard. This game's a game of precision. And, the Cubs' experience and what they've been through, they were better in this environment for sure.
So what do you think about that quote?
Well, I think you, Crowley, and all the people, all the 40,000 people deserve a tip of the cap. You guys deserve a hot dog or a popcorn or a Cracker Jack the next time we're there on the house. You guys were the 10th man, per se, right? The 10th fan, the 10th person out there. The place was rock. Every person. I talked to a couple different people that were there today or last night, and everybody said it was one of the top, if not the top, sporting events they ever attended.
It was wild, Dustin, and all I can hope is that the Cub fans bring it. And again, like you said, Brewers, best team in baseball, right? Best record,
mm-hmm.
Number 1 seed. They had the Cubs where they wanted them, 2-0. They had the pitcher they wanted on their mound. Now they have to be questioning themselves a little bit. You wonder if they try to do too much and if the Cubs feel confident and have a little swagger going right now. I'm excited about this weekend, and I can't wait to get up to Milwaukee.
I bet, Crowley. I bet it will be absolutely special. This is the Fly the W podcast. We're part of the Blue Wire Network. Don't forget, you can listen, you download, you review, you subscribe, leave a 5-star review. You got a question, email us, Crowley's Clubhouse, gmail.com. Also, don't forget, you can watch us on the Crowley's Clubhouse YouTube page. All right, Crowley, at the moment, we still don't know what's going on tomorrow. We don't know. The only thing we know is that it's a 6:30 pregame and a 7:08 first pitch. We don't know who the Brewers are throwing. Craig Counsell is meeting the media as we speak and has said in these press conferences, according to what I'm seeing on social media, we still haven't decided. They are still not ready to announce. I think they've decided. They just don't want to tell us. They don't want to tell Murph. They don't want to tell the Brewers fans. They don't want to tell anybody. But let's speculate. Let's you and I speculate, Crowley. You're in charge. Crowley's Kingdom is in charge of the starting pitcher tomorrow. What are you doing?
I'm going Colin Ray.
Okay. Here's my rebuttal. Okay. It's not a terrible idea, but now I think you would have given Colin Ray the ball on Saturday afternoon in Milwaukee as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you would give the ball to Colin Ray. That's question number one. And I'll answer the questions if you want me to in a minute. So my follow-up is, what do you think Craig Counsell is going to do?
I think we're going to get a bullpen game from both sides.
Okay,
I think this is a bullpen game. This is not
so
going to be a Colin Ray start.
it doesn't even matter. I won't even press you on who's getting the ball first, who's getting the ball second.
I think it all depends on the lineup. I think Colin Ray's going to get it. I don't think any pitcher that we see tomorrow goes more than 2 innings.
Wow.
I think if Shota gets in, which I think is what everyone's question is, I think I would go with Ray first. And then when I find an opportunity, when you have a couple of lefties, I would, and especially towards the bottom of their order, I am not letting, honestly, to be honest with you, I would be happy if Shota doesn't even make it into the game.
Well, that's another question. Does Shota even get into your game?
If it's me, no.
I find this very interesting. Here's what I think is going to happen. They didn't need to use him last night. They didn't need to use Andrew Kittredge last night. I think Andrew Kittredge is going to open tomorrow. I think that's what's going to happen. I think he's going to try to, quiet that place. He's going to try to take the air out of that building. And then I actually think they're going to go to Shota. I think Shota has a phenomenal record with this team. Overall, I know you're shaking your head. If I can see you, Crowley. Hopefully people see you. I'm just, Crowley, I'm not saying that's what I would do. I'm saying that's what I think they're going to do. That's what I think they're going to do. I hope I'm wrong, but I think Andrew Kittredge, because he did not pitch the other night, is going to be the guy that they actually. It's either him or Pomerantz, I think, that they will put out there first as the opener.
They've seen Pomerantz a lot, is all I'm going to tell you. They've seen Pomerantz a lot. I'm not saying
he's not perfect. I mean,
I'm not doubting that. I'm just telling you, this is where it gets crazy. You've now seen each other for 5 games. And when you take a look at the bullpen, what has happened so far, yes, he has done absolutely phenomenal. I'm not going to take anything away from him. He's appeared in 3 games so far of the 4. Okay. So Drew Pomerantz and Daniel Palencia are the only 2 that have pitched in 3 out of the 4 games that have happened so far. I'm not saying they're not going to pitch more, but they did not use Savali last night. Savali was up. They haven't used Ray. Ray and Savali did a good job coming in. Now, again, there's a lot less pressure when you're blown out and you're just throwing pitches. You're just eating innings.
Right.
Savali's an interesting character because he asked to be traded from the Brewers. They said to Savali, "You're no good. You're going to the bullpen." He said, "I want to start. I don't want to be on this team anymore. I want to trade." He made his agent demand a trade. Savali goes to the White Sox. And then
that's how they end up with Andrew Vaughn.
But Savali, I think, has a little bit of a chip towards the whole Brewers situation. And I'm very curious my guess is probably more, I think we're going to see Pomerantz. I think we're probably going to see Daniel Palencia even there. Thielbar, Keller. I mean, it's some combination.
I think it's all hands. I think everybody's available except for Jameson Tyone, right? Everybody's available except for Jamo.
and Matt Boyd, obviously.
Yeah.
So those are the two guys that you wouldn't see, but I'd like I said, I'd like to see 2 innings from Colin Ray. I'd like to see 2 innings from, from
Ben Brown. I mean,
Savali.
people were talking about Ben Brown early in this game. That would surprise me.
Ben Brown isn't a bad choice.
I didn't
either.
say he's bad. I'm just
yeah.
saying it would surprise. It would surprise me. This is why I'm kind of still sitting on pins and needles. I mean, they are making us fans anticipate this thing like crazy. So it's going to be really interesting. And then again, what are the Brewers going to do? Are they going to put Quintana? But are they going to start Quintana and say, okay, Craig, go ahead. What are you going to do now, Michael Busch? Are they going to go with the Miz? Are they going to try to get that place so pumped up with the Miz, throwing 103? Now, granted, he walks people, but I mean, if he was able to strike out the side to start that game, that place will be absolutely rocking and rolling, Crowley.
Let me just say on the flip side, Ashby's played in 3 of the games. Nick Mears has pitched in 3 of the games. Chad Patrick and Jason Koenig have pitched in 3 games.
So those guys are probably not going to be the first 2 pitchers you see tomorrow.
I doubt it. I would say if it was,
I mean, I don't think Ashby's coming out there again to be the opener.
I think it's going to be Quintana.
Yeah.
It's everything's going to be moving quick now.
All right. So if they do that, Crowley, if they open Quintana, and I don't think you're far off on that one. What do you think the counter move is by our skipper?
I don't think you change anything. Same lineup, roll it out there.
But the same lineup that he's used in the past, or the same lineup they used the other day.
They've used the same lineup the last couple days.
No, but I'm saying, but when the lefty started,
yes, I know. I'm saying I would go with Busch leading off.
Okay.
Horner, Tucker, the same lineup he's rolled out the last 2 days. Same exact thing. I changed nothing based on whether it's righty or lefty because it is not going to matter. So I'm just going to say that they're you got to get to Quintana, and I hope they do. But he did not go to Mizorowski yesterday, right? Remember I said that they left Gasser in there. They haven't. They've only seen Abner Uribe, their closer, once, just because they really haven't needed a closer much in these games, other than the Wednesday night. And so I'm just telling you right now, I got a feeling. Just don't even play around with it until you have guys on base. I wouldn't lead off with Justin Turner if that's what you're asking. I would absolutely not do that. I would keep him there and just it's gone fine. I wouldn't mess with it. I think that there is going to be, again, a bullpen game. I think what you mentioned about Jacob Mizorowski and what we had that clip of Murph about some guys getting amped up. I think Jacob Mizorowski might be an interesting person to watch this game, either for the good or for the bad. He may come in there and absolutely get the place rocking, or he may absolutely crap the bed. And I don't think it's going to be anything in between. Do you get what I'm saying? I don't think he's going to have an inning where he lets a guy get on or and that's it. He gets out of it. I think he's either going to blow everybody away or he's going to absolutely get shook up a little bit, overamped, and struggle with control. And I think that's going to be key. So how the Cubs do against Quintana and Mizorowski is what I am most interested in. I mean, you might be able to go with Quinn Priester and try to give him a redemption story for an inning or two. And that's what you're saying. All hands on deck. He didn't pitch that much, the other day. He only pitched an inning.
All right. Right as the Cubs game started yesterday, Crowley, we had the Phillies and the Dodgers pushing and pushing and pushing. What a wild game that was. Wild ending. Dodgers end up winning that one 2-1 in 11. So they're sitting around waiting. And the NLCS is going to start either in LA or in Milwaukee on Monday.
Yeah. I can't believe how easy it was for LA to walk through the Phillies. I didn't think it was, it just felt like LA was so confident. I didn't think it was going to be that easy. How about some kudos for Kyle Schwarber? You saw what the polar bear Pete Alonso did after the Mets were eliminated. Free agency. I think that the way Kyle handled it, we know he's going to be a big free agent, but he was very complimentary to the team and didn't really want to address that.
He almost got a little emotional. And the Blue Jays, they ended the Yankees year, so it's kind of nice to see a little new blood there. And then tonight we've got a do or die over on the AL division round between the Tigers and the Mariners, and Cy Young himself, Tariq Skubal, right, going for the Tigers. And, he's a guy that, he can throw 9 innings if you need him to.
Well, Mike Prasnowski, great guy. He's thinking, I hope that Craig thinks like you do when it comes to starting Bush. So there, and he's also mentioned the Aaron Savali revenge game. So,
all right.
Yeah.
There you go, Mike. I like what you're thinking. By the way, did you, if you didn't get to hear it live, go back. We celebrated Michael Bush with a couple of Bush Light drafts this morning on Mully and Haw. We were drinking it. We were drinking in the 8 o'clock hour.
Nothing like a day drink there. And again, I think everyone, that's the big question. And I feel like the one thing I want to address about Shota Imanaga, I love Shota. I was there. I was actually there when he did his first press conference at Cubs convention. I was literally in the room, 15 feet from him. Just how much I loved how he took Ben Zobrist's number and Chelsea Dagger, everything. I just know that something's not right with him right now. Don't put him in that situation. And when I heard him say, I failed the team, now it's like there's this loss of confidence, right? It's not, I don't know if he's tipping. I don't know if he's injured, but I know his confidence shaken. And I know that the opposing team is licking their chops. I don't think it's just a matter of rest like it was for Matthew Boyd. With Matthew Boyd, I felt comfortable on full rest that he would be okay. He would be able to give you 3 or 4 innings. I had no doubt about it. I have a feeling that any righty that sees Shota Imanaga, whether you're talking about Andrew Vaughn, whether you're talking about William Contreras, whether you're talking like literally any righty, I have a feeling is just ready to tee off. His velocity is down. His splitter's not splitting, and he's not hitting his spots. And if you can't hit your spots and you fall behind and you're throwing 90 to 91, even if the Brewers aren't a big power team, it's a problem. He just can't do it right now. And I'm going to tell you, Dustin, God willing, the Cubs get into the NLCS. I don't know if I'd pitch him in the NLCS. I don't even know if I'd put him on the roster.
Wow, not even at Wrigley, not on the roster.
No.
Wow. So if you get Horton back, you'd go that route. All right, Crowley. Without knowing the pitching matchups, it's very interesting that the Cubs season and the Brewers season, right? So both team seasons come down to a game head to head. The game's in Milwaukee. The Cubs did have the 1-game advantage in the head to head matchups during the regular season, but we got so many different storylines. We got the Wrigley, the Wrigley North. We got the Council. We got Murph. We got Savale. There's so many things. How do you see this thing going tomorrow afternoon or early evening?
Again, I feel that it's going to be bullpen games on both sides. What I am going to say, what I do like, is this is the 3rd elimination game the Cubs have played in the postseason. 3rd.
Mm-hmm. So they've been
one
there,
against
done
San
that,
Diego,
right?
twice
and there's
against
something
Milwaukee.
to that, right? You have knowing that you're playing with your season on the line.
Right. And Milwaukee has not had to deal with it. And again, I think that Milwaukee thought we're going to kick the crap out of the Cubs. I don't think they ever saw it going 5 games. And now I think, and when I watch Jackson Chourio and see how he can't run right now, he can still hit the ball, but he can't run. I think that hurts them. I think that hurts their game. I'm going to go Cubs win this 4-3.
4-3. I like that score. Folks over at Bet365, without knowing the pitching matchups here, have the Brewers as a minus $1.30 favorite. So you got to bet 130 to win 100. The total in this one, they've got Crawley set at 7.5 right now. So listen, we're both pulling for the Cubs either way, no matter what. We'll be back with a little podcast for everybody before we get into either the NLCS on Monday. That's going to be on Monday. If the Cubs get there, they will be out in LA for a pair of games, and that's going to be Monday, Tuesday, back to back, right? Monday, Tuesday are those games, and then they'll come back here midweek for a couple of games over at Wrigley Field.
That would be Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You already got your hands on those tickets, Crowley?
Yes, I'll be there. I'm going to. I will never not be there because there's nothing like playoff baseball, Cubs playoff baseball. I've waited 9 years, man. 9 long years to get back here, and I'm exhausted. My voice is hoarse. My body is hurting, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
All right, Crowley, that's a wrap. Don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. You can email us, Crawley's Clubhouse, gmail.com. Don't forget to watch us on Crawley's Clubhouse YouTube page. Don't forget to follow Crawley on his socials, and you can go with him to Milwaukee tomorrow evening.
We should have gotten a bus, man. That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, absolutely, guys. If you have the opportunity, I know not everyone does, try to get up there. Let's make it Wrigley Field North again. Let's cheer on our Cubs. I'm absolutely pumped up. I'm ready for this, Dustin. Go Cubs!
It's all over.